Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So, today we are gonna learn about fundamental principles. Yeah, so what are the fundamental principles are? These are the principles on which the homeopathic system is based upon. This fundamental principle is also called as cardinal principles and fixed principles. In exam, some examiner love to ask some tricky type of questions, so they'll ask you sometimes what are cardinal principles or described cardinal principles, or sometimes they'll give you the question as fixed principles, or sometimes directly as a fundamental principles. So you should be able to write that what are these called as. Okay, so coming next, what is fundamental principles now? So this is a concrete structure. This is a structure of a homeopathic system. Okay, and these are the pillars, the strong pillars on which this system is standing upon. These are the base of the homeopathic system. So what are these laws? The first law is law of similia. The second one is law of simplex. Third is law of minimum dose. Fourth is doctrine of drug proving. Fifth is theory of chronic diseases. Sixth is theory of vital force. Then doctrine of drug dynamization and the doctrine of individualization. So we'll study one by one law now. The very first law is law of similia. This law is very important and a basic law of homeopathy. And the homeopathy name itself is derived from this word, that is similia. So we'll split this homeopathy word into two, that is homeos and pathos. Homeos means similar and pathos means suffering. So what does homeopathy mean is similar suffering. Let's see. Homeopathy is nothing but a therapeutic application of system similarity. This system similarity. This law of similia was well known since from ancient ages. This law earlierly were known to be the nature's law, and this was the only law which can give the cure. This was told by Hippocrates. This law means similia similibus curenter. This is the principle on which this law is based upon. That means like cures like. So taking inspiration from this nature's law, Hahnemann has modified this law and made it into the practical possible method use. So Hahnemann said that this is the universal application law, also the nature's law of cure. He used this similar principle in the homeopathy, that is similia similibus curenter, but a little modification he has done, that is let like cures by like. Okay, so this nature's law is given in 26th aphorism in Organon of Medicine by Dr. Hahnemann. Coming to the next law, that is law of simplex, which means single simple remedy. That is what called as monopharmacy. Mono is single. Okay, so let's see the reasons for monopharmacy. The first reason is drug picture. Now the entire drug picture is seen when the single remedy is given or single crude drug substance is introduced to a healthy prover. Then only the drug picture will be seen, which is in the pure form. Now second is compare patient picture with the drug picture. If one medicine is proved on a healthy human being and the similar symptoms are seen in the deceased patient, then we have to compare the patient picture on which with the drug picture which we have proved. This is possible when the single remedy is prescribed. Third is confused symptoms. Now if two remedies are given to the patient, then there will be confusion in between the drug symptoms. because one drug will show some different symptoms and the other drug will show the different symptoms, so that both symptoms will be mixed up and there will be no proper conclusion. So always give the single remedy. Then antidote each other. Some drugs tend to antidote each other. They don't follows their reaction at all, and sometimes there might be some complications happens. So these drugs are antidoting each other's action and giving null effect. Then one life force is equals to vital force, so one medicinal force. Now, as Hahnemann has told that the vital force is only one in the one person which handles the life and which is also called as a life force. So to if the one vital force is deranged, then only one medicine should act on that vital force, not so many medicines. So here one life force, that is vital force, is given to a one medicinal force, that is the remedy. Now, as it is the crude form of drug is introduced to the healthy human beings which tend to prove the drug. So while prescribe the single remedy so that the patient's actual cure can be happen. Okay, let's see the third law of minimum dose. Okay, so this law means prescribe minutest dose of the medicine. This tells us that we have to always prescribe the minutest dose of medicine. This will only act on a patient on a vital force. Patient's vital force is deranged due to the disease condition, and to come getting that back into the normal dynamic plane, we have to use or we have to apply this law, that is law of minimum dose. This law is derived from the Ernst Schultz physiological law. He tells that here weak stimuli excites physiological action of a substance, moderate one favors it, and the strong stimuli retards the action. Now what does this law mean? This law means that it is very simple, that this law means greater similarity between the patient's symptom and the drug symptom, the minimum dose or a minimum quantity of a dose will only act as a proper medicine. Let's see the advantages of minimum dose. By giving the minimum dose, we can avoid the medicinal aggravation. Now, by giving this minutest quantity of a dose, this minute dose can produce the uncommon, peculiar and the mental symptoms in the patient which were observed in the healthy human beings while drug proving. And also it will avoid the organ damage in the patient. Also it will protect patient from any kind of drug addiction or any kind of side effects. Let's see fourth law. Okay, so what is the definition of homeopathic drug proving is the process of administering the drug to the healthy human being of different ages, different constitutions and both the sexes, with the sole purpose of observing, compiling and recording their sick making or sick curing properties. So what does basically means that the drug should be proved on different age groups. Why different age groups? Just because at different age groups there are different diseases are seen and different susceptibilities are seen, different reaction to the medicines are seen. So we have to see or prove the remedy in different constitution, both the sexes. Like I told that at different ages there are different diseases. So both in male and in female there are some different diseases are there. Like in female there are some menstrual cycle diseases. Then in men we have seen that gonorrheal infection is seen. So we have to prove on both the sexes. This is what the can make the cure properties will be enhanced by this kind of drug proving. And also keep this in mind that drug proving is only and only done on the healthy human beings, not on a diseased person. If we'll prove the drug on diseased person, then it will, mix up or confuse the symptoms of drug symptoms as well as the diseased symptoms. Now, advantages of human drug proving over the animal drug proving. The first one is drug effects on mind and intellect. If drug is given to the animals, then the mind symptoms and intellect symptoms we cannot be seen in the in animals. But by prescribing drug on the humans, mind symptoms and intellect symptoms can be collected. Just because the humans can talk and humans can express the symptoms, we can easily collect the mind and intellect symptoms. Second is animal may not explain subjective and mental symptoms. Third is due to different anatomy, effects of drug may differ. Now we cannot get modalities properly. Animals cannot tell us the proper modalities as patient can say or tell. Now the cane's general symptoms like dreams, thirst, bowels, all those general symptoms can be easily told by humans but not by animals. Similarly, the mind symptoms cannot be obtained from animal. Here. So, drug proving on sick. This will mix up the symptoms of drug and a disease symptoms. And after proving the drug on the sick, it will neutralize the curative effect of the drug. Now, doctrine of chronic diseases. This were introduced in the 4th edition of Organon in year 1829. So, in some kind of diseases, there after introducing the simulacrum drug also, there was the cure was not seen. Some signs and symptoms were getting aside, and again they are coming back, but into the very chronic stage, or in a deeper stage they were coming back. So Hahnemann found out some cause behind that symptoms, and the cause was miasms. He investigated this miasms or that cause behind this kind of symptoms for 12 years, and finally he got the cause behind all the disease, that is miasm. This is the only cause behind all kinds of diseases. Basically there are 3 miasms, that is sora, syphilis and psychosis. These 3 miasms are the basic, fundamental and the real cause of disease. They are dynamic disease causing power. And sora is always called as the mother of all the miasms, because it consists of 7/8 part of all the diseases. And this is the most fundamental and the destructive oldest miasm. Every person starting disease has this sora in its background. Always keep in mind that always sora is in the background of every diseases. Now coming to the syphilis and psychosis. These are 2 miasms which are chronic miasms. So Hahnemann told that unless miasms are removed from the body, the patient cannot be cured from his illness. So we have to remove the miasms, and then only the proper cure can be taken place. This was all given in the chronic diseases. Now let's see the 6th one, that is doctrine of vital force, which was introduced in the 5th edition of Organon in year 1833. So what is vital force means? This is the animating life force in a body is called as vital force, which is in a dynamic plane. So doctrine of vital force plus doctrine of chronic diseases, together this forms the holistic system of medicine. As per this holistic system of medicine, disease is because of the derangement of the vital force by the dynamic disease producing power, that is the miasm, the disease producing power. So in healthy condition, the vital force maintains an normal functioning of the body, and in disease condition, vital force get deranged by the miasm. which symptoms are seen or produced in a disease by the vital force. After derangement of this vital force, that vital force only shows the signs and symptoms, which is called as disease. So, vital force is given in the 9th aphorism of Organon of Medicine. So, let's see the 7th one, that is a doctrine of drug dynamization or potentization. This was introduced in the 5th edition of Organon in the year 1833. This drug dynamization, what does this mean? It is a process by which the medicinal or a curative property of the crude drug substance can be brought out, which are otherwise inherent or latent. This dynamization of this crude drug substance, it is a process. What this does, always the medicine is in the crude drug substances that are after dynamization, it will give the proper medicine. It will enhance the medicinal properties from this crude drug substance. So firstly we have to dynamize the crude drug substance, and then only we'll get the proper medicine. So this drug dynamization has two processes, that are trituration and succussion. This triturations we are doing in insoluble substances, and succussions we are done in soluble substances. What does trituration means and what does succussion means? So succussions means we have to give succussions, or called as strokes, on the rubber pad, and these succussions are done in the liquid drug substances, and triturations are done in the solid drug substances. Just let's see the advantages of drug dynamization. After drug is dynamized, it will reduce the risk of aggravation, because if we'll give the crude drug substance, then there will be high chances of aggravation, because it doesn't contains any medicinal power, but it has some power which can aggravate the, or harm the body. Second is substance which are not medicinally useful in their crude drug form can be aroused, and their medicinal properties can be brought out. The potentized medicine will act deeper, longer and widespread. Also, life force plus disease force. This life force is also in a dynamic form, that is the vital force. And the drug force, that means the miasms are also in a dynamic plane. So both are in a dynamic plane, so we'll require medicinal force also in a dynamic plane, so that this two dynamic plane and this dynamic plane of medicine can give a proper cure to a patient. So the 8th one is theory of individualization. So every individual has its unique character of his own. No individual is similar in its healthy state or in a disease state. So let's see. It is a process of understanding and differentiating a person both in the health and a disease form from the other person of his group based on the peculiar and the uncommon features. So every individual has its peculiar and uncommon features. No two individuals are alike. We should individualize the patient as well as the drug. We should see that every individual is different and every drug is different in itself. Okay, so by proper observing and case taking, we should notice the abnormal, peculiar and the uncommon symptoms as per disease point of view in the patient. And individualization of drug, that is the drug picture and the individual characters. We have to see the similar drug picture and the similar individual characters, so that we can give the proper simillimum to the patient. And the homeopathy treats the patient and not the disease. This is what the Hahnemann says, that homeopathy treat patient as a whole, not just removing the signs and symptoms is called cure, but treating the patient and making him complete cure, or giving him a complete gentle cure, is what the homeopathy treats. Also, if you like my video, then please do like, comment and share. Thank you.